Hello and welcome to a What's Sold video. This is going to be everything that sold for me on my not live reselling platforms from November 8th to November 14th. So the second week in November. Miss Moxie is here, of course, and she will probably be yelling at me the whole video. We're actually going to start with Etsy first because I made an Etsy sale. Miss Ma'am, I'm about ready to boot you off if you don't scoot. She says no thank you. So I sold this Anne and Frank silk top. This is from the Y2K era. It's bright gold. I picked this up from that big vintage buyout, so at this point it's pure profit, and yeah, it sold for $18, and I'm always really excited whenever an Etsy sale happens because it means it's from an old item, and I'm just grateful it's gone, especially when, you know, there's no buy cost. We're gonna scoot Miss Moxie over here because I also have a Poshmark sale to share with y'all. This came from a more recent haul. This is Little Lisa Ltd, and this is from the 70s. I found this at the Goodwill by the Boys house. I actually found two Little Lisa Ltd sweaters, and this one sold first. It was like a bouliche, or bouche, I don't know how to say this fabric, but I saw this, immediately picked it up, and it sold for $30 on Poshmark, and that was awesome. I knew it would sell quickly. I just am surprised that it sold on Poshmark. And then we're gonna get into eBay because eBay is my main bay. And Miss Moxie's gonna get moved again. Don't worry, she's fine with this because she's getting touched. All right, the first item is a pair of Figs pants. These are the basic Pisco. That's actually what it's called. It's called the Pisco Basic Scrub Pants. If you did not know, Figs will actually, well, Figs is a scrub brand, and most of the newer styles will have it on the material tag. It'll also say it's made out of 100% awesome. That's not actually what the fabric content is, but it'll have the style name and then the style number as well. If it is an older item, it'll just have the style number, and you should be able to type that into the Figs website and it should be able to pick it up for you or tell with you the name. It does sell better if you have the actual name of the item than if you have, like, just say Figs scrubs. Also the colors. There are limited edition colors for Figs as well. So if you can get the exact Figs knit color name, that is also important because some medical companies, doctors, healthcare providers, whatever you want to call them, they have specific colors based on whatever, like, job the person does at the hospital or the healthcare system. At least they do here in Riverside. They do that. Other ones do it as well, so it also can help with that, or it also can help sell it if you have the exact color name as well. This is the burgundy pair, sold for $14. These were the Pisco pants, which is like the most basic of scrub pants that you can have, and these are men's, which was interesting. I actually found like a glut. I went to the bins, and then I immediately walked over to, like, okay, well, I'm tired. I've spent 3 hours at the bins. I'm gonna go next door and see if there's anything on, like, if I can find anything in the retail section real quick. And I happened to get there when they had just wheeled out a bunch of, like, new racks that they were putting out, and one whole rack was just Figs. All the same size, all the same styles, in different colors, and I was like, oh my goodness. So you're gonna see a lot of Figs over the next couple of weeks because I have sold about half of them now. But super happy. I paid $5.25 for these, and they sold for $14 as soon as I listed them. This is an international sale. This I picked up last Thriftmas at the little hole-in-the-wall thrift store in Pocosin. It's a pair of union-made, like, little plaid wool skirt. Sold for $18, and again, someone paid an astronomical amount to have it shipped through the global shipping program, which is how I do my international sales. This is a novel, a brand new novel that I picked up in that big book buyout, so I have 10 cents into this, and this is by Nut Hamsun. Nut Hamsun is a Norwegian author, and most, like I said, I've mentioned before, most of these books that I bought were new, and most of them were translations from authors from other countries. This is a vintage 70s mug. 70s are still in, my dudes. And this had the little, like, thing so you don't get your mustache wet or moist or covered in whatever you're drinking. This was my full asking price for $14.87. This did take like a year and a half to sell, so it's not gonna be a fast sale, but who can turn down this face? It's cute. So I think if this was a bigger mug and not a 10-ounce mug, it probably would have sold faster. But you know, 10 ounces was a lot of coffee in the 70s, considering most coffee mugs were like 6 to 8 ounces, but I digress. This I have Brett to thank. He gave me a bunch of vintage postcards a long time ago, and I've only like listed maybe 20, 25 of them, but most of them have sold at this point. This sold for $2.87, and you're like, how in the world are you making any money with free shipping on $2.87 when first class shipping is $3.82? Well, that's medium mail shipping. First class shipping can be like $3.66, I think is the lowest amount you can get on eBay. But this goes eBay standard envelope, which means it goes in a regular envelope and you can still print out a 4x6 label for like 63 cents that's tracked. So am I making a lot of it on this? Absolutely not. Am I saving some vintage ephemera from getting thrown away? Yes. So Brett, thank you. I just love selling postcards, and I know there are others of you watching that also feel the same way. Chris, I'm looking at you. So this is an X-Men book. This was from 2014. It's a hardcover first edition. Sold for $11.58. I paid $1 for this at a thrift store. I pick up vintage ashtrays often, and they sell often for me. This is Kiahuna, which is a vintage resort. This is from the like mid-century era, so I think late 60s, early 70s. Sold for $12.87. This is from the 80s. It's a Ziggy little star container. I just thought it was really cute, which is why I picked it up. These trinket dishes can do well. I just thought it was cute, so it sold for $10 and the buyer to pay for shipping. This also came from that big book buyout, so I have 10 cents into this. This sold for my full asking price of $13.87, so I made like $9. And the only reason I was able to make that is because this is a brand new book. So if you don't magically luck into a batch of 200 plus brand new books for 10 cents each, this might not be helpful to you, but I'm just sharing all of my sales. So this took forever to sell. I had this for almost 2 years. This is a Noritake Morimura lusterware tidbit tray. Absolutely gorgeous. I'm so surprised it took so long to sell. I took an offer of $17 for it and then $12 in shipping. So I paid, I believe, $4 or $5 for this at a thrift store. And honestly, I'm just glad that it's moved on to a new home. Here's a Knox Rose piece. Even the smaller sizes will sell. Not anywhere near as fast as the plus sizes, but this is a Knox Rose piece that I picked up at Gloucester. I paid, I believe, $1 for this. It was really cheap. I think it was in like the dollar rack, and very pretty. Sold for $12, and I'm ecstatic about that. Another book from the buyout. Sold for my full asking price of $11.87. This I actually picked up thrift store for 50 cents. This is new You Can Heal Your Life companion book. So this is like a journal workbook to go along with the other book. I actually decided instead of selling them together to sell them separately, and it worked. So this sold for $12, and again I paid 50 cents for it, and it cost like $5 to ship it. So did I make a whole lot? No. But did I save a book from the trash? Yes. This is retail arbitrage. Again, I don't normally do retail arbitrage, but this time of year, normally around October, I do it because I'm looking for have some brand new tag stuff in my inventory for Christmas time. And this is a pair of wedgie straight ankle jeans in black, and they sold for $30, and I paid $15 for these at one of those big box buyout stores. So really happy. They were $30.28. This is a book I picked up at the bins, so I have 25 cents into this book. This is a vintage copy from 1958 of All Is Quiet on the Western Front. I saw this and was like, I know that book. I mean, I've never read the book, but I know the book. I saw that it was comping well if you can get a vintage copy of it, and so I picked it up. $9.87. Fantastic. This was a great surprise to me. So I picked up a big bundle of these vintage Carlsbad Cavern patches in 2020 before lockdown, and I was so excited because I was like, okay, vintage patches, that's going to be great. Bought 11 of them for $1 each. and they have been sitting. This is the first one to sell 3 years later, sold for $6. And I thought that I was gonna have to pay like $3.66 to send this first class. But patches apparently also can be sent the eBay standard envelope. So instead of me having to pay, you know, $3.50 to ship this with free shipping, I only had to pay 60 cents to ship this. So I made $5 off of this sale. Well, I made like $4 off of the sale, which is way better than what I thought I was going to do. I thought I was just gonna break even and just be happy that it was gone. But I'm so excited about that. So patches, stamps, trading cards, and postcards can all go eBay standard envelope, and that was a great boon to me. This is a Peter Millar piece. It was a quarter zip and it sold for $20, and I paid $6.25 for this at a thrift store. This is a new Disney Parks piece. It was a women's size extra small. It was a Minnie Mouse piece, and I picked this up for Thriftmas last year. It was brand new with tags. I had this like marked up way too high apparently, and when I lowered the price, it then sold on an offer for $20, but I'm just glad that I don't have this in my inventory anymore, and I paid $5 for this at a thrift store. This is also part of that big book buyout, but this was not a new book. This was a vintage book from 1990. I bought it for 10 cents, sold for $5.87, so I made like 50 cents off of this book because media mail is like $3.82, but I saved a vintage book from the landfill. Pair of Columbia shorts. I just wanted to try them. They were, I believe I got these at the bins, so I have $1 into them, and they sold for $8, which I am more than happy. Same thing with this Valerie Stevens piece. I also paid, you know, like $1 for this. This is 100% cashmere, which is why I picked it up. Miss Moxie is being so needy right now. Sold for $16.89. This I picked up at an estate sale. I paid $2 for this. It sold for $9.87. So I didn't make a whole lot of money off of this, but the fact that I could sell it at all is great. Again, if it wasn't for that big record buyout I did earlier this year, I wouldn't have the means to do that. So this is fantastic, and every record I sell just makes me very happy, regardless if it's from their original buyout or from an estate sale later on. This is a vintage Homer Laughlin mug. These vintage Homer Laughlin mugs that have like interesting camping or hiking or mountain patterns on them can do pretty well. This one sold for $22 and the buyer paid $10.40 in shipping. This is a vintage Levi's pair of 550s, and these are the 4030s. The only reason I pick these up, I normally don't pick up 550s, but these were made in the USA. So because they were made in the USA, I did pick them up, and they sold for $23.90. All right, this next item I think I also picked up for Thriftmas last year. I paid, I think, probably like $4 for this. It's a vintage mid-century modern Royal China Star in the atomic pattern, or the atomic glow, whatever you want to call it, and it was a big plate. It sold for my full asking price of $24.87, and then the buyer paid $13.95 for shipping, and this did go all the way to California, so I used all of that money to ship this. This is a vintage 60s piece. This is actually something that came from the big vintage buyout, so it's technically free at this point to me, so it's pure profit. Sold for $14.30. This was a great find. I found this at a thrift store. I paid $3 for it. That's what hats were. This was a new dead stock piece of Lacoste. It was a Lacoste dad hat. Sold for $35 very quickly. And yeah, that was great. I rarely find Lacoste in my area. That's not fake. I found fake Lacoste all the time. But I rarely find actual Lacoste. And to find a vintage piece, dead stock, that sold for this much, very grateful. This is another item that I did retail arbitrage, and that was just because this is perfectly on trend right now. They are the 9 West Garin Blacks in the platform lug sole. So very 90s coated. I paid $22 for these, and they sold on offer for $36.44. This is again from that big vintage buyout. This is a union made piece by Choice. It's from the 70s. It sold for $15.90, and the reason I know it's from the 70s is because it had the union made label on it. That's from like 1975 to 1995, I think is the date. And that is actually the last time I have to share with you guys. So thank you all so much for watching. I really appreciate y'all being here. And I will hopefully see you guys in the next video. Until then, bye. Bye. Like fleece thingy. These little novelty trinket jars things. I'm doing great with the words right now.